Could stop me, I'm in the zone. Competition's none in a league of my own.
You watch over her.
Do I know you?
I know you. Jorah Mormont of Bear Island.
Who are you?
Music.
I'm no one. But she is the mother of dragons. She needs true protectors, now more than ever. They shall come day and night to see the wonder born into the world again. And when they see, they shall lust. For dragons are fire-made flesh, and fire is power.
I only held him that once, as he was dying.
He's gone, Brienne. You serve nothing and no one by following him into the earth. Renly's enemies are Robb's enemies as well.
I do not know your son, my lady. But I could serve you, if you would have me. You have courage. Not battle courage, perhaps, but I don't know, a woman's kind of courage. And I think that when the time comes, you will not hold me back. Promise me that you will not hold me back from Stannis.
When the time comes, I will not hold you back.
Then I am yours, my lady. I will shield your back and give my life for yours if it comes to that. I swear it by the old gods and the new.
I vow that you shall always have a place in my home and at my table, and that I shall ask no service of you that might bring you dishonor. I swear it by the old gods and the new.
And it's not just the...
What did you see in your dream? Something bad? Tell me, boy.
I dreamt that the sea came to Winterfell. I saw waves crashing against the gates, and the water came flowing over the walls. Flooded the castle.
Shit, it all makes sense.
Drowned men were floating here.
That's gotta be the theme of the
yard.
Greyjoys playing.
Sir Roderick was one of them.
The sea is hundreds of miles away.
I know. It's just a stupid dream.
I've got to get these potatoes to the kitchen, otherwise they'll put me in chains again.
Osha. The three-eyed raven. What do they say about it? North of the wall.
They say all sorts of crazy things north of the wall.
Come on! I want to know what that damn raven is. I've been seeing that since like the second episode.
How many rangers can say that?
He's the one.
Aye. You killed the white. You also let an old man beat your bruddy and take your sword.
Craster. Well, in the boy's defense, that's a tough old goat.
Craster is his name.
I could take up John's duties while he's gone, my lord. There'd be no trouble.
What's that music for?
I hope you make a better ranger than you do a steward.
It's bad, ominous music. I don't like that. Stay away from Johnny.
I come from nothing. My mother and father never owned a pair of shoes, but marry me and I will give you the 7 kingdoms. And our children will be princes and princesses. See, I have more ambition than you thought.
the sea with an army you bought
The
and a
Seven
foreign husband
Kingdoms
who
are at
paid
war
for
with
it.
one another. 4 false kings destroying the country.
To win Westeros, you need support from Westeros.
The usurper is dead. The Starks fight the Lannisters, the Baratheons fight each other.
According to your new friend, who earned your trust by cutting his hand?
The time to strike is now. We need to find ships and an army or we'll spend the rest of our lives rotting away at the edge of the world.
Rich men do not become rich by giving more than they get. They'll give you ships and soldiers, and they'll own you forever. Moving carefully is the hard way, but it's the right way.
And if I'd listened to that advice outside the gates of Qarth, we'd all be dead by now.
I know the opportunity before you seems like the last you'll ever have, but you must
Do not speak to me like I'm a child.
I only want
What do you want? Tell me.
to see you on the Iron Throne.
Why?
You have a good claim, a title, a birthright. But you have something more than that. You may cover it up and deny it, but you have a gentle heart. You would not only be respected and feared, you would be loved. Someone who can rule and should rule. Centuries come and go without a person like that coming into the world. There are times when I look at you and I still can't believe you're real.
So what would you have me do as my advisor?
Make your own way. Find your own ship. You only need one. The allies we need are in Westeros, not Qarth.
And how do I get this ship?
I'll find it for you. Sound ship with a good captain.
I look forward to meeting him.
Come! Did you see anything?
He just...
Go up there! Don't see where he comes from. What? Go up the back over here.
How did he... I don't understand how he killed him. Does that mean... Oh, could he do that to Joffrey? Oh, man.
Wow, what an eventful episode that was. Took me a day to process most of that, so I did get some good notes down for you. I'm going to try to fly through this one because I do have quite a few things to talk about, a lot of stuff about the story that I picked up on this episode, and for the general overview, for those of you who don't want to listen to me talk for probably the next 20 minutes here, is this episode came after one of my favorite episode, really, or one of my favorite episodes, and it was just, I don't know how to, it was what was needed. There's a really quick pace. I don't know what to say. Like, we come out of the gates and Renly's killed, and it just kind of like is fully blasting through the story now. It's like we had so much good build up, and then it's like we finally and it was getting to the point where it's like we need something to happen, and whatever we needed to happen, I don't know if I liked what happened as far as the characters go, but it was a great episode, guys, and I'm really, really enjoying season 2. Along with getting to the pinnacle, it's still continuing to build up for the I'm at a point here where I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know who's gonna die. I'm a little scared for some of my favorite characters, and I'm a little nervous for what could happen down the road. And I'm so excited, and I love this show. I love how clever it is, and I love how just well executed it is, right? Because you're getting this great story. And we already know it's going to be a great narrative, but we've seen a great narrative just squandered so many times in the television industry. But it's like the acting they casted it right. I'm settling into the show. The first season was kind of like your warm-up, and obviously you're going to love the first season because it's the introduction to such a great world. But I'm warming up to it, and I just love it, and I'm super excited. Let's get into this. Let's get into these notes I have about this, and let's discuss some of this great narrative because it's definitely worth being discussed. The first thing we need to talk about, we're starting off with a bang, just like the episode did, is Renly's death. Renly's death. It was wow, not what I was expecting. We see this thing come out of Melisandre at the end of the last episode, and we're like, what the fuck is it? And it's like, well, that's what's going to shift the tide of the war, and it sure did. And you know, it makes you think that so many things happen with his death as we like realize, holy shit, Melisandre's fucking insane. Like, she has the power, not Stannis, is what I realized at that moment, because she's the only reason Stannis won this war, because I think realistically, we know if that wouldn't have happened and Renly kept his army, I think Stannis would have been obliterated. And you know, that's just the way it most likely would have been. I think Stannis even thought that's what was going to happen in his head, and I don't know. He was, you know, he had to believe it because that's what the religion needed him to do, and he was putting all his eggs in one basket of this religion with Melisandre, and it worked out. And you know, wow, it was just it was out of nowhere, really. I didn't expect it to happen, but it makes sense. It makes sense. They've been building up to that through Stannis' whole story through season 2. So yeah, it definitely made sense. On top of that, we see the effect of Renly's death is it's going to ripple through the story, and you know, obviously it's going to cause some chain reactions with Stannis, with the Lannisters, with the Tyrells, I believe they are, with Renly's princess, I don't know her name, and the King of Flowers or the Knight of Flowers. So the Tyrells, that's going to affect their storyline and how they react. We saw Littlefinger's dialogue with them and how he's going to help them get revenge. Brienne, we saw her, how devastated she was about that, and we saw Catelyn's going to help her get revenge, so there's already some similarities from those closest to Renly, and we do realize how loved he really was. So it was a great death, and you know, it got me a little bit teared up slightly, but it was a really good death, and I think it was executed well. It wasn't just a death for a death. It was something that's going to help out the story. So no, it's kind of got that double it's kind of like a backhanded compliment if you think about it as a metaphor for it, where it's like, yeah, like it's terrible what happened, and I really liked his character, but it will help make the story better in the long run since he died, which makes me sound like an asshole. Going more in on Renly's death, both Littlefinger and Catelyn said the same line, Catelyn to Brienne and Littlefinger to the princess, and no, more so the Knight of Flowers. He said they both said you can't avenge him from the grave, because they were both just, you know, in a state of emotional rage where they're just going to go and just fuck shit up, right? And they're going to go out with a flame, with a blaze, I guess. What is the saying I'm trying to say? Go out with a bang. Jesus, I am sorry. So they're both trying to go out with a bang, and you know, both Catelyn and Littlefinger are smart enough to use that. Like, they know these people are valuable. Catelyn more so, I think, just has a personal connection with Brienne, but they're basically telling, like, hey, you can't do this. I know you want revenge, but it's not going to be any use from the grave. And that line, if you say the line twice in anything, in any form of entertainment, of any form of media that's trying to portray a message or a story or a narrative, it's significant. So I wrote that down. It was a good line. Oh, Stannis. So we see Stannis after this has all happened, and his gosh, I couldn't remember his name. I wrote it down somewhere, but his henchman, his right hand man, is kind of like, hey man, they're not gonna, like, Melisandre is the one people aren't gonna appreciate, especially the people we've got from your brother Renly, if you're being whispered to and told what to do by Melisandre, a witch. And, Stannis, he has a pretty bitter reaction to it. He seems like he's grown even more colder than he already was. But he does have this real look of sadness when he's alone after he says the line, well, I forget the line, but it was, shoot. But anyways, the point of this note is that I noticed when Stannis was alone, he had just had this really deeply sorrowful look on his face. And I think he really is kind of like, holy shit, my brother's dead. I think it's hitting him, so it's kind of sad. I'm not sure if that's what it is, or if he's kind of like, it could also be like the religion thing, and there's a lot of things. Stannis is an interesting character, because it could be his brother. It does look like there could be still some compassion left for his brother, but it also could be the Melisandre thing, and he doesn't respect the way he's going to win this war, right? I don't know, but it could be either one. Okay, and then moving on back to the Lannister storyline and Tyrion's storyline. We see them walking down the street, and we see a guy who's like up on a soapbox pretty much just talking about how Joffrey's a little bitch, which he is. And we're starting to see that. I think it's the story and the writers and the, you know, what we're seeing here is just they're planting the seeds in the viewer's mind of that a revolution is possible and it could happen, and this is just the start of it. So it's an interesting scene there. I really like that. Okay, here's another good note. We don't see too much of Theon in this episode, but we do see him. He gets his ship. He's really disrespectful crew members, and they don't really respect him. Maybe rightfully so. Anyways, we like I said before, Theon, he's fucked up. He's got problems. But no, he's I start to get more and more compassionate for him, even though I don't agree with what he's doing. I'm a Stark guy, so. But no, I do feel compassion for him because we see the superiority complex, and more I keep comparing him to Robb, and I think he probably in his own head compares himself to Robb. You know, Robb's already respected. He comes in, they call him the King of the North already. It doesn't take any time. Robb's got a family who loves him. Robb's a great warrior. Robb's more handsome than him. I'm sure he knows that too. Robb's a better man in general. I think he knows that, and he's just and he's a great leader, and that's what this note came from, is the leadership thing, is because he comes out there and he tries to do his best Robb Stark impression to me, and he's like, "Hey, listen to me, I'm your leader." I don't know the exact line, but basically that's what he's saying. He's like, "You're gonna backtalk me," and all these people are like, "Fuck you," and he kind of just lets himself get walked on by these people, and I just think he realized he doesn't have the ability to lead as Robb Stark did. So I think this is really the beginning of Theon's story, and I think we're gonna see him. I think we're going to see him start to grow into a Robb Stark-like character and find himself more and stop comparing himself and becoming his own person. So it was an interesting scene for him, and I just put that comparison together verbally or vocally in my head when I watched it. I was like, man, they're really trying to get us to compare him to Robb Stark, and that's probably what fucks him up a little bit, because, you know, he comes home. Robb Stark's got a family who loves him and respects him and helps him become more powerful and helps him become more successful. When his dad, when he comes home, they treat him like a piece of shit, even though it's not his fault that he was kidnapped and that he had to live with the Starks. But it's an interesting story that Theon Greyjoy has going on right now. Okay, so we see a really good scene with Tywin and Arya. The first thing I'm going to touch on this scene is just when Tywin's discussing strategy with those of in his inner circle. I assume they're like generals or something. A lot of them seem to be Lannisters, if not all of them. We see that none of them really care. Tywin like takes away wine, and they're like, ugh. Like, it's like they don't care. They don't see the threat because they've grown complacent in their eliteness. They've grown complacent with their superiority, like they're always going to be number one and they're never going to have to stop being number one, or never have to try to not be number one, or, you know, they're never going to even have to try because they're the Lannisters, right? And Tywin realizes, like, shit, dude, we're losing men here, we're losing battles, and Robb Stark has been underestimated, and it's my fault, and it's everyone here's fault, and no one cares. But Tywin's starting to, you know, he's like, hey, listen, I think that's a big reason why Tywin sent Tyrion to King's Landing to be the hand of the king, because he realized even his kids, Cersei and Joffrey and all those close to him they're failing him, and they're just growing complacent in their power, and they're getting fat and disgusting, and they're not working for that power anymore. And I think Tywin realizes that, and that's why, you know, he sends his cousin home, I believe, and we just see that how really futile this war's looking for the Lannisters, really, because no one seems to care. On top of that, that's what I have to say about that. And then we go into the Arya scene, and you know, he questions Arya. He's like, "You are from the north," and she's like, "Yeah." And she says what house she's from. Obviously, not the Starks. And he's like, well, what do people in the north think about Robb Stark? And she tells all these great stories about how he rides his direwolf into battle, and some people think he can actually turn into his direwolf and all this. And then Tywin's like, "Do you think he can be killed?" And there's like this intense stare, which is very good directing and very good acting. And she said, "Well, of course, anyone can be killed." Something like that, but it's anyone can be killed. Fantastic line. Great foreshadowing. Arya is becoming one of my favorite characters. I love it. I love it. Okay, let's talk about the dynamics I've been noticing in Game of Thrones. So the first dynamic, what brought it to mind is we see a nice Night's Watch scene with Jon and the boys, Sam and the boys. I don't know the other two's name, but yeah, Jon and Sam. Those are the two big ones to me. And not that the other ones aren't important, I just didn't catch their names or haven't fully recognized them yet, or I can't recognize their names yet, I guess is what I'd say, but I know their faces, obviously. And the dynamic there that I was catching on with is they're like, you know, they're the boys. Like, oh yeah, it's the Night Watch. And they have a lot of chit-chat, good chit-chat going on that we see, and that's a good dynamic to have in a show, like the buddy kind of thing. And then we got then that brings up more dynamics I start to think of, like the Lannisters and the Starks. We got the Lannisters remind me of like the elitists, like the 1%, right? And then the Starks are like the middle class, like working men, the blue collar, right? And then the Baratheons I had to throw in there. They're just like those two middle fingers up, fuck it, wild men. You know, which is cool. Cool stuff I've been realizing here. And let's see, what else do we have to talk about? Just to touch a little bit more on the dynamics. I love when I can pick stuff up like that. Just because it's nice to be able to compare a fantasy show. And I've said this before, how real the show is, but it's nice when you can compare a fantasy show to the real life. And it's great. It's great stuff. Really great writing, really great world building, and just great characters in this show. This is just a line that I picked up on. It seemed like it could be significant. Bronn says, "We win wars," something along the lines of men win wars, not magic, when they're looking at all these bombs that are being made. And it's a good line, and it just made me think a lot of people have been underestimating magic and not taking it seriously throughout this. And I'm not saying the bombs are going to work. Maybe they will. Who knows? They look pretty fucking dangerous. But that line, it just made me think of how many people are underestimating magic, and I think magic's going to come into play in this a lot, especially after we saw that warlock scene in Qarth, I believe the place was, where Daenerys is talking to this warlock who has like this blue lips, just looks like a warlock, right? And he like makes a second version of himself by doing some weird magic trick, but so yeah, I think magic is definitely going to come into play, and I think that line by Bronn just really made me think about how it's being underestimated and how it's going to take everyone off guard when it does come into play, I think. Let's see. Oh yeah, so going on to that warlock that we saw with the magic, he just made me think really, like, when we see that happen, that made me think even more on the magic. And then along with that, there was some weird stuff that was mentioned, like shade of the evening is what was turning his lips blue. I caught that, and I just wrote it down because I thought it was interesting, and another great example of world building by, like, you know, it doesn't seem like much by writing that line, and it probably was taken right from the book or right from some details in the book, because I know in the book they go into excruciatingly great detail about everything. So I'm sure that was something from the book that they put in there. I don't know if it'll be significant down the line, but, you know, shade of the evening is a very interesting thing to hear, so I wrote it down. So the next thing I want to talk about is there was a really good stuff going on, good character stuff going on between Brienne and Catelyn. I don't know if it's Brienne or Brienne. I think I've heard it both ways in the show, I feel like, but I'll call her Brienne. So between Brienne and Catelyn, there's some really good stuff going on there. We see from the beginning the mutual respect there. Of course, Brienne has that line when Catelyn says something like "my lady" to her, addresses her as "my lady." She says, "I'm no lady," which is something about her character that she obviously regrets not being more ladylike, and I'm sure it's had ripple effects throughout her life because she's such a has a lot of masculine features. And then we see Catelyn's admiration by her from those comments and from how much she respected her after seeing her fight and etc. Just Catelyn just seems to have a lot of respect and admiration for how she is and how she's just different from most women. Because I think Catelyn would love to be a warrior helping protect her son and protect her family, but she knows that the only way she can help is doing motherly things, which is more help than she maybe realizes. But I think she kind of wishes she was like Brienne sometimes. I think she holds her in a high esteem in that sense because she wishes she could be such a fierce warrior. So we see that mutual admiration there, which I thought was really nice and a really good way to build characters and relationships that are realistic. And then on top of that, Brienne's oath to protect Catelyn is, I mean, it was such a sweet moment, and it made me tear up a little bit. It's just, Brienne is already such a great character, and I feel for her. Like, I understand what she's feeling. It seems like, I don't know if it's the acting. I think she's just a really natural actor and portrays a lot of real emotions. And I think Catelyn does that as well. So I think that's why that relationship is already so strong, in my opinion. And I'm just excited to see where it goes. I like her character a lot, and I like the relationship that's being built a lot. Oh, great foreshadowing here. Bran's dream of the flood, like, obviously it's about the you know, the Greyjoys coming to invade after all this army's just been sent out. The Greyjoy, so great stuff there. I picked that up when he said it, of course, but yeah, that was good. Finally put together the pieces of Bran's dream. I still can't figure out what the fuck the three-eyed raven or crow is. Well, I think it's probably a crow, but yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to blank on that. I'm trying to figure out what the hell it means. Could have something to do with the Night's Watch. Maybe Mance Radar, I was thinking. I don't know. Okay, now I got some stuff about Daenerys is the last thing I want to talk about. So Daenerys, I always thought, I never really knew what she really wanted, right? Until she flat out says it when one of the 13, I forget his name, but basically was talking about the safe that he had and that she could help him open it with a marriage. And basically he asked her, like, what do you want? She says, I want to protect my people. I want the Iron Throne so I can protect them and be their queen. So she does want the Iron Throne, she does, but it's not about power. It's about protecting her people and being a great leader to her people, and she thinks she has the right to it as well. So that's interesting. We finally see what her motivations are. I think the main thing is she wants to protect her people, and she's got strong connections with these people that she's leading. With the Daenerys scenes here, Jorah gets that mysterious warning from the masked woman. Don't have a solid prediction on who she was. I wish I did, but I don't have anything to back up any prediction I could have, so I don't want to make just a stupid prediction. I'll just have to wait and see. But I'm wondering if that prediction was about the proposal that Daenerys had to marry him, and this guy was going to give him all these ships and all this money so they could sail across the seas. I wonder if that's what the warning was about, because Jorah was pretty adamant about talking her out of it, and it worked. So I wonder if that's what the warning about is, that proposal was somehow dangerous and deceitful, and it's like the thing. It's like, if it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true, man. So, you know, like those free cruises you get on, like, who knows? But that was just my thought on that. And then the last note I have here just to talk about is Jorah. There's a lot of story notes here, not a lot of general directing and acting notes, but Jorah, this is something that was really powerful to me. His speech that he gives to Daenerys when speaking her out of it shows that that his love for her, because we see the connection he has with her and we see the feelings he has for her, but I think this episode, it really hit. It's a lot more than romance. It's not just a stupid romance, right? And I'm not saying romance is stupid. I'm just saying it's not that. It's not just as simple as that. It's about his love for her uniqueness, right? And I think Jorah just realizes how loving she is, how different she is, and how great of a leader she would be. And I think the reason he loves her so much and wants to protect her so much, I know he has the mission to protect her, but I think the reason why he's so committed to her is because he wants to see a world where she is the leader. And that's where his deep admiration for her comes from. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of stuff I talked about there. Sorry if I just flew through it. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you keep sharing the videos if you like them. Tell your friends about it. Like the video, subscribe. I apologize that I know I was trying to get another show in here, but I really am just trying to fly through at least the first few seasons of Game of Thrones to get in a nice rhythm. So yeah, we're going to be trying to get a second show in here, but I'm really, really addicted to Game of Thrones right now, so maybe we'll just stick with the Game of Thrones. But anyways, guys, again, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed my little talks that I have with you after these. I really enjoyed doing it. I don't think there's anything like it out there, so make sure you let people know what you're witnessing here. Just kidding. Peace and love. I'm out of here. I don't know why I always get up. It's like, where am I? I'm just going and standing up out of frame. I'm not actually going anywhere. Huh.
Get it right, they know what I'm living like. I've been busy going all out, and I'm telling everybody I'ma get it now. Everybody gonna bow down, down.